Yeah, I don't know either. They now have Aang instead of Jamili, so we should see if they can keep up their current level of play with their new roster. But they have a tough competitor to face off against for their first match with their new roster in the form of OTK. But it's game number 1, upper bracket series, loser dropping down to the lower bracket.
Let's see what they've got to bring to the table here. And imagine OTK want to go with Windwalker Mage. Okay, so Windwalker Mage versus Warrior Mage is a matchup that we've seen a lot. Aang is going to be substituting in now on the side of Charlotte Phoenix. Let's see how they perform here, for better or for worse against OTK. Trill on that Windwalker Monk is definitely a powerhouse. Although at the moment, caught in a Dragon's Breath, Corlick charges in, but he eats Sidhu's hammer first. We see Nick charging in for a fear to try and compensate. Sidhu going to use a Blessing of Protection to remove that, but now caught in a Hammer of Justice, and Charlotte Phoenix have still got control of Sidhu at the moment. Sam's on the run, blinking behind the pillar. Nick gets grapple weaponed on his heroic leap. Nice grapple weapon timing by Trill. Sam retreating back to Sidhu's side as he comes out of crowd control. Now Corlick in a paralyze. Blinding Light, big setup onto Aang here. They've isolated the mage. Nice counter assault by OTK. Nick going to pop out with a rally and a war banner, trying to slow down the incoming pressure, buying time for Corlick to get out of crowd control and get some big heals going here. Aang should begin to recover. Now Nick back on target, going after Sam. Sam going to activate that Triune Ward, get a big barrier. Both teams waiting to begin their assaults. Hammers of Justice coming up momentarily, but Sidhu actually caught in a Blinding Light first. Trill and Apolly 3 versus 1 on Sam. Will he survive here? Popping out those mirror images, and Sidhu doesn't feel safe. He's going to use his medallion and sacrifice, and as a result, Charlotte Phoenix have a lead.
They definitely do. Not a bad start for them whatsoever. Great pressure here on Sam I Am. At the same time, Aang about to take a huge hit of damage just with a paralyze. That is going to be the sacrifice that trades from Corlick. Both these teams very evenly matched at this point. Sam I Am going to be taking another meteor. Aang looking for potential crowd control here. Blinks in. Sidhu avoids it. Now Trill once again all over him. And it appears that Sam I Am just going to kind of retreat with Sidhu, maybe realizing they're a bit behind on this mage race. He does have the combustion coming up here relatively soon. Both these mages are going to have a huge hit of damage with that combustion. And once Paladin crowd control is available, Corlick's going to be pushing in, intimidating shout into a potential Hammer of Justice. He manages to get it. Sam in some trouble, but he manages to alter time. Beautifully done by him to keep himself alive during that crowd control window. And now OTK, they need to be looking to get aggressive, find crowd control of their own, and try to start getting some damage rolling here onto Aang.
Yeah, so Sam actually used his Kleptomania right there. So there's going to be a bit of a window right now. If Aang can get anything here onto Corlick, or onto Sidhu, sorry, it's going to be a huge amount of damage he has available that can't really be stopped. Honestly, I would have loved to just see him just pull the trigger with, just any kind of crowd control that they could get. Maybe Dragon's Breath, even just something. Corlick's going to be in a Blinding Light there, and he is actually going to trinket out of that one, trying to keep Aang alive here. Still taking a lot of damage. Aang actually forced to use his trinket here as well, using the soul shape here, getting a little bit of distance from Trill, and Trill is just doing a lot of damage here on that Windwalker. Nick now finally getting a little bit of uptime here onto Sam as well. He's going to get caught up in a polymorph potentially. Sam actually gets reflected on that one, and Nick is going to let that one sit. But Sidhu's sitting down drinking right next to him. Nick needs to go in and stop that. He actually gets a tick right there. There's the Hammer of Justice now onto Sidhu. Can Aang connect with something? Trill shuts it down here with a paralyze, but there it is. Combustion gets popped. Immediate response there by Sidhu. Trinket, sacrifice, and now here comes the double leg sweep. Here comes the counter assault. Big damage onto Aang. What is he going to do to survive here? Saved by the Light. Rocking him. Is it going to be enough though? Can he get a resheep? Doesn't look like it. Sam gets counterspelled. Sidhu is going to keep himself alive, keep Sam alive, and Corlick and Aang are both going to survive that as well.
Nice setups from both sides here, looking very evenly matched in game number 1. Sam falling a bit behind here. You're going to alter time back and get a huge value trade there, but Nick now goes for a Sharpened Blade Stormbolt, reducing healing significantly on Sam. Frost Nova, Nick gets freedomed out to reconnect. Will he be able to close it out? Trill uses grapple weapon. Nick tries to escape with Door of Shadows. Maybe bait and interrupt while he's disarmed, just trying to min-max his global cooldowns here. Sidhu at the pillar along with Corlick, waiting for their Hammer of Justice. Sidhu has his. Who's going to pull the trigger first here? Sidhu rolls up, gets the hammer onto Corlick. Aang going to be the target, but a double Dragon's Breath from Aang intercepts the incoming assault. They do manage to get a Ring of Frost Frost, but it was war bannered by Nick. That crowd control chain is now over, and Korlik will have an opportunity to turn the tides here. He's mounted up, he's charging after Sidu. Sidu in a hammer, Sam in a Stormbolt. Trill, what are you going to do to save the day here? His Zwen is caught in a ring of frost. He does manage to get a double leg sweep, totally shutting them down. Excellent peel by Trill at that moment in time. Sidu is now out of crowd control and looking to restabilize, as we see Braum called into the battle as well for Trill, attacking Aang. Sam is just tanking Nick at the moment. He's taking quite a lot of damage. Nick now getting Dragon's Breath on his door. Polymorph from Sam gets reflected back at him. Looking for another Polymorph, gets Storm Bolted on it. Sam is not having a good time right now with Nick on him. Sidu now into the Blinding Light. And it looks like it did actually end up breaking. So a bit unfortunate there for Charlotte Phoenix. This could have easily been a cauterize if that crowd control chain had not been dropped.
Yeah, it definitely could have been. Samayam still a little bit low. Dampening has just kicked in. Blinding Light comes in from Sidu. They're getting aggressive here onto Aang. What is he going to do? It looks like he will get the sacrifice there by Korlik. A lot of redirected damage here, but that was a cauterize also. Aang now using combustion of his own to get aggressive. And it looks like that's going to get kind of shrugged off there by Samayam. Samayam now into a full Stormbolt, Hammer of Justice on Sidu, and avoid the crowd control using his Everyman for himself. Into a full Intimidating Shout, though. Samayam on the run. Big setup here onto Korlik, and they get the Divine Shield. Right now, OTK, they're kind of all over the place, but they are getting cooldowns from everyone, and they are looking good.
Definitely a big lead here, but mana looking like it's going to be in favor of Charlotte Phoenix here. Sidu trying to get a drink here. Can they stop it? Aang goes in, gets the Dragon's Breath, he gets a Polymorph. Samayam, what are you going to do? Actually, Sidu pre-sacrifices it, so he is going to be able to survive with that, but that means he's not going to have the sacrifice. If he goes for if he moves away and goes for a drink, he's not going to be able to just come back and give Sam a sacrifice right away. He doesn't have an instant response, and things are not looking good for OTK here. They're going to have to ride or die with that next combustion. With that damage from Trill, Sidu actually does get a bit of a tick right there as well, and Nick not able to shut him down there on that drink. And Korlik on the flip side sitting down for his own drink. Trill is going to shut that down with a Paralyze, and now trying to make his way back to Aang here. Aang still having that Ice Block available and might need to actually use it here if he's not careful. He's going to blink back to Korlik and get a couple of sheeps here onto Trill, and that's going to be enough for him to stabilize. Samayam taking a huge chunk of damage there from that combustion there as well, and it's not looking good. That was Sidu's last bit of mana. He could maybe go for a Divine Favor, a Holy Light or something here, but that's about it really. Samayam activating the combustion here onto Aang. Now big damage coming in, but as long as Nick is on top of Samayam like that, Sidu is never going to be able to drink. They need to sheep Nick and get Sidu across the map here now that they have a little bit of pressure. If they don't do that, they're just going to lose on mana. And actually, they see Nick here with the Ring of Frost. Look at Sidu. He's sitting down for a drink. Samayam going for the hero plays here. He sheeps Nick out as well, and look at that. Sidu's mana is back to 50% there. What an excellent setup there. Samayam just getting a lot of crowd control there onto Nick behind the pillar. Nick's playing that relentless warrior, not gonna be able to trink it out. Korlik now in a Hammer of Justice getting swapped to Trill, trying to take matters into his own hands here on that Windwalker, but Korlik is going to survive. But still, the fact that Sidu got that drink, that was it. That's the only thing they needed. They're ahead in cooldowns, they're ahead in mana, and they have everything they need to close this one out, Sid.
And Korlik is on top of Trill's portal here, so there's no escape really. He's in a full Polymorph. That's a block. There's no way, right? Polymorph ends up breaking to some of the cleave damage. They go for a Blinding Light instead. They get the block. They need to keep Korlik in a little bit more crowd control. They've got a leg sweep they could go for, but maybe they want to wait for the diminishing return. They do decide to go for the leg sweep. Full stun, Korlik and a Blessing of Protection out and try and heal through this damage, but with what mana at 20% dampening is he going to heal? He's pinned against the wall with the Ring of Peace. Nice play by Trill. Aang is getting devastated at the moment. He's desperate. He Dragon's Breath Trill. He's trying to stall. Samayam gets Blinding Lighted, and so does Sidu by Korlik to try and stabilize in this fight, but they're just so far behind as a result of that drink. A full Polymorph. There's absolutely no way that Aang should be able to survive this. Hammers are down, and Aang will be potted and likely taken out. OTK with that clutch drink between Sam and Sidu. If it were not for that, this could have easily gone Charlotte Phoenix's way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what a close game that was. Very back and forth, but that drink really put them ahead in terms of momentum in the match. And as a result, OTK was able to pull it ahead. But I really feel like in this particular series, you get the feeling that either one of these teams could win. And if we see these exact same matchups play out over and over, I really think this could be a 3-2 series.
Certainly could end like that, Ven. This is a best of 5 as well, so we will have to see who gets dropped down to the lower bracket here with these two teams. Here's that replay as well.
Yeah, so this is after Cedo has gotten the drink, and you can see Cedo has bubble, he has sacrifice, he's sitting down for another drink here, while this team has pressure, just adding insult to injury here. Big Divine Favor coming out, big damage here onto Ang, Korlik using that Blessing of Protection, but it's not going to be enough here for Trill. He's going to be able to reconnect here. There's a Dragon's Breath onto Ang, and as soon as Korlik gets sheeped here, that's going to be the game. Combustion gets popped by Sam. There is the Hammer of Justice as well. And there is nothing anybody can do. There's no mana. There's no cooldowns. There's nothing left. And the game has just ran its course at this point. And it really just comes down to that drink from earlier. I think, OTK were ahead in cooldowns pretty much the whole game. But, Charlotte Phoenix were ahead on mana. And I think the fact that Korlik actually went for a counter drink when Cedo went for a drink, even best case scenario there, if Korlik doesn't get stopped, you don't want to trade your only advantage just to get a little bit more mana. Like, you already have 20% and they have 0, so just push in and try to win the game at that point. In my opinion, that was the mistake.
Okay, we're going to be seeing the draft start shortly here. It's going to be Charlotte Phoenix's map choice as well. We'll find out shortly exactly what that is, but we have covered this already. Jamili no longer on this team. They've got this new Fire Mage in place here, so I feel like especially with a player like Jamili no longer being on this team, that's going to change up their playstyle quite a bit. Supties, do you feel like these guys are still have the potential to be what they were before?
I mean, they're going toe-to-toe with OTK. If it weren't for that drink, it was looking like a very even game. So it's definitely, I think Ang is proficient and competent looking in game number 1. And now map-wise, where are they going to go? Small maps for the Warrior? Are they going to... I don't think we're going to see any changes in comp. I would imagine maybe Windwalker DK on a small map. Maybe by OTK. So Charlotte Phoenix may want to avoid that and go for larger maps. Larger map opens up the table to basically mean that drinking is going to decide the game. Who's going to be able to get them. In that game, Cedo was able to, Korlik wasn't. So that's really where I'm seeing this, is if they pick a small map, they want this to not be so much about drinking. If they pick a large map, they're going to focus more on getting drinks themselves.
Okay, let's see here what map we're going to go to. Do you feel like that based on the map, if we go to another small map, we're going to be locking in Ruins of Lordaeron? Do you feel like the pacing of that game is going to be similar than Supties?
Are we going to Ruins of Lordaeron? The thing down below is not... Are you asking me if we go to Ruins? Okay, we are going to Ruins. Okay, it's not game 5. I'm sad. Only game 2. This is interesting that they... wonder what... They want an open field as a Warrior.
Well, I mean, if we look at that last game and how Charlotte Phoenix was ahead on mana, maybe their idea is just on this map. Maybe that's one of the advantages that they have with the Warriors. Consistent damage. Cedo's going to be burning through his mana quicker. Maybe if they can deny the drinks, it will be helpful. I also feel like maybe when Samayam is pulling Nick behind a pillar on a big map, he's not as favored as maybe Trill is. He can't defend himself and get in and out of the fight as quickly, so he's very susceptible to being, dragged behind the pillar, caught into a Dragon's Breath, into a full sheep, whereas Trill, I guess the same thing could happen to him, but maybe just not as much. So just want to kind of work together as a unit on the smaller map. Could be the idea for the Warrior Mage Paladin.
Okay, Ruins of Lordaeron. We've got both compositions locked in as well. Let's see we're going to see if OTK can put themselves on match point for this next game here. We're going to see if this map choice is the key for Charlotte Phoenix, doing pretty well right now, considering they've swapped their roster around a little bit. They're, like you guys have said, holding their own here against OTK, and that is not an easy team to face up against for your first match of the day. So let's see what they can do here in game number 2.
All right, game number 2 is live here. OTK leading 1-0, but It wasn't too pretty that first game. Let's see what they can do here. Ang actually immediately landing a polymorph. Sam I am getting Hammer of Justice here, but Nick having a little bit of trouble connecting there. So that polymorph is not going to be able to do too much. And now Sidu has an opportunity here to respond with more CC. Sam I am actually getting Dragon's Breath right there on the crowd control chain. So a nice War Banner there getting baited out by Nick as well. Sidu still has his blind now. So Sidu could just go blind Corlic and they could potentially sheep out of it. Ang doesn't have his counterspell as well. Let's see if they decide to go for it. Sidu potentially looking to push in here. Maybe he wants to save it for that next Hammer of Justice. If they can get some crowd control here onto Nick, they can definitely push the issue here. Let's see if they go for it. Sam I am getting stunned up right now by a Stormbolt. Ang actually popping his combustion first. Big damage connects. Sam I am going to klepto that with his kleptomania and then cancel that combustion of Ang. But that means if Sam pops his own combustion right now, it means that Ang can just spell steal it to get the Aura Mastery sheep out of that blind. And see Sam not using his combustion right here, 100% the right play, because if he does, it's just going to get purged off and he's just going to get killed immediately. Now finally he has his own kleptomania, which means he feels safe to use that combustion. It does get stripped off by Ang and canceled by Ang now. And that's basically the meta game here. These two mages, they're always going to look for opportunities to land those high value combusts. And if they can do that, then all of a sudden they can get a lot of pressure and a lot of momentum on their side.
Big triple stun by Trill. Ring of Peace actually bounces Corlic back to the upper platform, so he's not going to be pinned against a wall on this map. I mean, that was definitely kind of detrimental for him in that last game. I don't think that's the big consideration for this map, but it is a nice little advantage. Trill caught in a polymorph. Sidu out of line of sight. Sidu gets hit by a flame strike. Corlic's escaping to the left side of the map next to the tombstones to try and drink, and I think both paladins are going to sneak away for drinks here, but their mages are taking a brutal beating from both Trill on Windwalker and Nick on Warrior here. So while they're trying to get a couple of sips, they're going to have to dip back into the battle. It's quite a lot of damage to deal with. Triple crowd control by Charlotte Phoenix here. Nice engagement, but Nick gets grapple weaponed, and Sam blinks, double blinks away from Nick. Nick actually still able to connect. Meteor called in. They're all stacked up, though. Not too devastating. Corlic and a polymorph as OTK look to close. Nick going to use Die by the Sword with Intervene here, I would imagine, to redirect damage and feel a little bit more comfortable. However, with leg sweep available, they could swap to Nick. Sidu pre-sacrificing this, but they could swap to Sidu. He's got a ton of redirected damage, likely a Divine Shield. Proccing saved by the light. Nick not staying on target. Sidu holds on to the Divine Shield. A bold decision with how much damage was incoming, but holding on to a precious cooldown is very important, or they would have been dramatically behind. Now mana is the name of the game here. Sidu slightly behind at this point, but Corlic in crowd control. Ang blinking back with polymorph spam, but still taking a lot of damage. Nick can't help him. He's in a Frost Nova. Ang's at 10% health here, and it looks like he will hold out. Corlic's out of crowd control. Trill's in polymorphs. Ring of Peace again, bouncing Corlic. This time he's not positioned in a way where he's getting bounced up just yet. Does manage to finally get bounced to the top. Both teams recover. Cooldown wise, Nick is a vulnerable target here, but it doesn't look like there's any stuns for it. I'd love to see a swap to Nick. Bait Nick behind a pillar, Hammer of Justice, something like that. Maybe punish or dispel, but that poly on the leap stopped Nick from stopping the drink, and Sidu's back to full mana.
Yeah, definitely well set up there, Salman, with beautiful polymorphs, allowing Sidu to completely reset his mana before we step foot into dampening. Corlic down to around 60%. So once again, a massive lead in that regard. Zwen available here for Trill as well. Who are they going after? Full Hammer of Justice onto Sidu. Paralyzed coming in from Trill. Denies the follow-up Bringer Frost with a blinding light into a polymorph. Now Salman in some trouble, trying to just get out of line of sight. Potentially has Alter Time up right now as well, just avoiding some of this incoming damage, but no! Big damage coming in from Nick. Sam not really able to defend himself, but buys enough time for Sidu to break crowd control. Now they make a big swap on Corlic. Can they take him down? That was a Meteor. Not the combustion, though, from Sam. However, they didn't really get too many cooldowns from Corlic, and now it's going to be Sam on the back foot. Ang and Sam in some trouble. Sidu needs to power through the heals. Corlic tops off Ang at the same time. Sam getting incredibly low. He gets interrupted. Cauterized procs as well. A full polymorph lands. Things are looking good here for Charlotte Phoenix.
Oh, big damage here still onto Sam, forced into the ice cube here. He's going to get shattered on it. Still a lot of pressure here coming out of Nick. Can they get anything more here onto Sidu, potentially the sacrifice and the Divine Shield trading out? So many cooldowns here forced in just basically one go here. The game is all of a sudden wide open here for Charlotte Phoenix. They have every CD that they need, and there is nothing left in OTK. Here comes the combustion of Sam though. He gets polymorphed on it, actually. Nick with the beautiful spell reflect right there as Sam is trying to set that up, and here comes the Spear of Bastion. Sam I Am is pinned to the ground. What is he going to do here? Sidu trying to keep him alive here with some heals, and that Winx gets feared up here. This could just be it for Sam. Do they have anything to follow it up? Aang actually getting caught up in the paralyzed. Trill throwing out the Vivifies here. Can they get anything onto Sidu? They're looking for the Ring of Frost to get the sheep out of the blinding light. Sam I Am in so much trouble here. Disarm onto Nick. Trill just spamming out the Vivifies. He's literally tapped here on energy. Trill just working on fumes at this point, trying to keep him alive, and he's able to with just like 8 Vivifies in that setup there. Trill definitely just respecking Mistweaver there for a second, taking a page out of Drainer's book, and that's going to keep Sam I Am alive. Now Sidu still no way out here. He's going to activate the Hammer of Justice onto Korlik. Korlik's going to trinket out, trade out the sacrifice here as well, and they have such a long, but it's like the tables are completely turned from game number 1. OTK have the mana lead, but 0 cooldowns, and Charlotte Phoenix have the cooldowns, but almost no mana. Sam I Am pre-blinks out of that spear right there.
Oh,
Nick
the drink!
As a result, the drink gets stopped, but Sam, at what cost here? Sidu has so much work ahead of him. Beautiful Dragon's Breath. Sam I Am really playing out of his mind here. Stops the drink, gets back into the good graces of Sidu here, and he is able to get recovered. But Korlik did recover actually a lot of mana there, so that mana lead that they had is completely lost. Aang forced to use his trinket now, actually his human ratio, I believe, right there to get out of that stun. And now Aang trying to set up a CC chain here himself, but gets interrupted by Sam I Am. Here comes the damage as well from Sam with that combustion. Big hits coming in here, but at what cost here? Aang is just going to be able to completely survive that. Korlik just powering through with the heals. Trill, though, actually connecting here with big damage himself with those images. With the Zwan, Aang might still be in trouble here. The Cauterize triggered. He's sheeping up Trill, and it looks like Aang is going to survive there, but this game is super close here, Sid.
Yeah, they're looking so even in game number 2 here. Korlik finding an opportunity to drink, looking like he may want to drink at the cart side here, not able to. Aang and Sam I Am both blasting each other with fireballs, trying to reset combustion. Nick in a Frost Nova at the moment, going to get freedomed out to charge in for a Fear stun onto Sam. Sidu going to pop the stun. Sam line of sights the spell steal by staying behind the pillar here and avoids the combustion of Aang as well. So good positioning on Sam's part here to avoid a lot of damage. Now crowd controlling Nick behind the pillar. Really good punish. Nick's out of the match. Aang's in a paralyze. They're going to stun Korlik. Korlik pre-bops it here. Aang now line of sighting spell steal. Going to pre-alter time as well. Really playing it safe. Sam interrupted for a moment. Nick finally getting back on target. Hammers down onto Sidu. Aang going to try and find crowd control, but it's going to be rather tough. He actually alters out of line of Sidu. Maybe he's trying to find a ring around the corner. They go for blinding light, but it's going to miss the ring. They go for a polymorph instead, managing to get the crowd control regardless. Nick's trying to stay on target, and he is managing to connect onto Sam. Sam going to alter back away from Nick. Frost Novaing him out of line of sight before altering time. Really good positioning between the two mages here in this matchup. And despite that drink from Korlik, OTK are getting ahead. And I think it's likely Trill. Trill is just doing a monstrous amount of damage. He did, I think, maybe 20 to 30% more damage than Nick in the first game. And I think the scoreboard is likely to represent a similar result here. Trill is definitely the key factor to OTK's ability to just run Korlik out of mana.
Yeah, no question about it. Aang, of course, with no Cauterize, not feeling too safe, and that is going to be the sacrifice that trades 21% dampening. Sam I Am has his ice block.
Big swap!
Finally, a little bit of big swap here on Korlik. Can they take him down? He's got the Divine Shield. Is he going to have to trade it? He does. This is the Avenging Wrath, the Divine Shield. They're trying to turn around the pressure here. A full polymorph lands, a DR polymorph lands on a Sidu. He's forced to trade out the Trinket, the sacrifice. Sam I Am at 10% health. Holds on and doesn't have to trade the ice block. So both these teams working through their cooldowns. A swap on Korlik could be absolutely devastating. He's got no crowd control breaks. If they get the crowd control, they could just take down Aang as well. He's forced into the ice block just off the paralyzed. Trill on a bit of a solo mission here. Sidu bombing out Holy Lights in a prime position. But Sam I'm getting really low. Forced to trade out the ice block on the Meteor. As this game goes on and dampening gets higher, this game has become increasingly unstable. But a beautiful, intimidating shout. Sidu forced to trade out the Divine Shield. Can he keep Sam alive? Soul Shape going to be used by Sam I Am. He drops a defensive Ring of Frost. They need to try to turn around the pressure here onto Aang, but OTK, they have no cooldowns left. At the same time, Charlotte Phoenix as well. One good setup. The polymorph gets nailed, and it looks like Sam could potentially go down. Cauterizes Proc, and he's on the run. Can he survive? He gets the interrupt. He kites him around with that blazing speed. But the Hammer of Justice on Sidu, the crowd control is just never ending. Sam, can he really hold on a full blinding light? How is Sam still alive? Gets the crowd control. He's trying to kite, but the seed will proc. Can Sea-Doo keep it alive? I don't know if he's going to be able to. Aang drops a meteor on Sam I Am to crack the seed. And it looks like Charlotte Phoenix are going to be able to strike back. And these teams, they are so evenly matched. That was a beautiful, close game. And we have a tie series.
That was just incredible, especially towards the end there. I thought, okay, there's no way Sam lives here, but he almost made it out there. But the CC chain was just too long right there. They got that blinding light as well at the end. And I mean, look at both of these teams. They were completely tapped out. They had no mana left, both of them, and just no cooldowns really to work with. And it just came down to those final couple of seconds. So really, really good job here by Charlotte Phoenix tying us up. And like you said, Ben, already, this is a super close series, and I think we're definitely going to be going the distance here.
I think you're right as well, Zico. Love when teams like these are so evenly matched. Currently tied up now 1-1, and we can break down that last game number 2 and how they got that kill.
All right, so here they get Sheep on Sea-Doo, follow it up with the Ring of Frost, but it gets denied by Trill, and they get the Hammer of Justice instead on Sea-Doo. Trill throwing out Vivifies here, Sam sheeping up Nick, sheeping the Dispel of on Nick there as well, getting a little bit of distance here, and here he actually sheeps Korlik, thinking, okay, he's going to be safe, and Sea-Doo just gets sniped with that Ring of Frost, and that's going to be the end of the match here. You can see both Paladins completely tapped, like both of them have no cooldowns really, both mages no cooldowns. And, when Sam died, he had his combust just rotating back up in a couple of seconds. So if he somehow lives that and Sea-Doo gets that Divine Favor off, all of a sudden Sam can use his combustion there, and maybe it's going to be OTK that walks away with the win. It really doesn't get closer than that.
Definitely does not, Zico. It sounds like, just to reiterate what you said, you think that this is likely to go to a game number 5?
Yeah, I think this can definitely go the distance here. I could see either of these teams winning. Both of them are putting on a great show.
They definitely are. Both of these teams holding their own. We've seen this matchup before, so curious to see how this one ends with these two teams here. Both are playing really strong compositions as well, so I think Zico is definitely right. It's anyone's game here. I think it'd be a difficult one to make a prediction on who even wins this one, Super Tees.
Yeah, definitely. OTK go for the small map. Weird. I felt like the small map was working out for Charlotte Phoenix. I wonder if they want to use Mez. I was thinking like they're going to go to a big map out during Korlik with Windwalker Mage, and then Charlotte Phoenix would go to Hook Point, and then they'd sub Mez in. I do kind of wonder if they want to utilize that. I think this is a good time to do it. Just take the small map away, run the Frost DK. It's not really generally a good time as a mage into Windwalker DK in particular. So I would like to see that. If we don't see that, it's odd to me why they would want to play Windwalker Mage on the smaller map.
What do you think, Ben? Go ahead.
No, it's interesting. They won on NAGRAND with the Windwalker Mage Paladin, and they lost on Ruins of LORDAERON. Although the game really doesn't get too much closer than that. They are going to be switching it up and going with the Frost Death Knight Windwalker Paladin. So interesting pick. That does mean that they are not going to have the utility of the Restoration Shaman, which is what we normally see. The offensive purges really help by taking down a mage. So honestly, it is miserable playing against a Frost Death Knight as a mage, but if you have freedom and they can't purge it, it's not too bad. So I'm curious to see what OTK decides to set up. They still need to be very careful going into Warrior Mage Paladin. Not an easy matchup for them, I do believe, but just trying to take advantage of the small map when they can.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a tabby cat?
He's a minx.
Oh.
Yeah. He doesn't have a tail.
Oh, he doesn't?
No, look. Show him your butt. See, look. You got a little.
That's
little
a
butt.
good strat. Yeah, you scratched him back there, so yeah, that's a good strat.
He wanted to root these guys on. Okay, small
Which
map
team
here.
is he cheering for?
Usually you choose for the team with the Feral Druid, but there's not really one in this matchup, so I don't know. Who are you rooting for?
Don't put me on the spot.
I think he's gonna stay neutral. Oh, he's like, no, I'm not about this. Okay, well, I'm excited to see these guys. I love OTK on their Windwalker DK, especially in here in Hook Point. Charlotte Phoenix playing a really, really strong composition, though, with these guys. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how this one ends up, Supatees. Do you feel like OTK it needs to win this one early if they have hopes of winning this next game?
Not necessarily. I think they're going to win on mana. I feel like Windwalker and DK do way more damage together overall, so they're going to run Corlic out of mana, if anything. It's a really good map to stack people up for triples. So as a Frost DK, I feel like you're pretty happy about this. I'm pretty confident in them kind of late game more than early. I feel like early might be the scariest time because Combustion isn't able to get dispelled. So if they get aggressive and use both your protections maybe to get Aang in aggressive with Ore Mastery polys, and they might be able to play aggressive and just outright kill Trill. So early, I actually think Charlotte Phoenix might have a bit of an edge.
Okay. Ven, what do you think? Who has an edge here on this map, Hook Point?
I mean, if you're OTK, you're going to be hoping you have an edge picking this composition in this map. So for them, hopefully they do have that edge. But like I said, it's still really scary. I mean, for Trill, he's going to be under constant threat in this matchup with an Arms Warrior just chasing him down. If he's playing Venthyr, it makes it even more difficult. Even the Spear of Bastion could be a nightmare to deal with. So Mez is going to have to back him up. And what they really want to do is limit the amount of combustions we see from Aang in this game. So stop the shifting power, stop the fireballs, and try to get that anti-magic zone lined up with combustion as best as possible. And that is going to be a huge kind of safety net that OTK has available. And if they can do that, I think they're going to be looking good. But Charlotte Phoenix, if they can reset that combustion, they can get huge setups here onto this Windwalker monk. So Trill's going to have to play very well defensively.
Certainly. I feel like this is going to be the first game where Charlotte Phoenix is really put to the test here with their new composition, or their new roster, excuse me. Game number 3 here, OTK tied up 1-1 versus Charlotte Phoenix.
OTK finally bringing in the king of the roster here, Lord Maz, coming in now on that DK, immediately getting that blinding sleep. There's a double leg sweep, a triple actually, big damage coming out. That's going to be Cordic Human Racial. He gets Hammer of Justice on the DR. Do they have any more damage? Trill actually looking like the one who's actually taking the damage here. Ring of Frost gets interrupted, but he does maybe sneak in the polymorph there. Trill using that Ring of Peace to get some distance between him and Nick, and he's just using that Windwalker mobility to run circles around this little map here, and that's going to be enough distance between him and Nick to potentially get back to his target now and get aggressive. There's the grip, there's the triple Syndragosa. Naz been sitting on the bench all day, but look at him already sniping those big dragons right off the get-go here. And we're going to see here the pressure onto Trill as well as onto Aang start to really build up.
And Mez is actually running a Gnome Death Knight, so he's going to get a lot of extra mobility, get out of all these Frost Novas. Nice little adaptation by him as he's anticipating Trill to be the target, so they don't need to run any sort of defensive racials on the Death Knight. Getting out of that extra crowd control is going to be useful here. Corlic looks like he wants to drink. Mez is trying to hit him through the fence, and I think you can actually auto-attack through that fence. So Mez smartly just whacks Corlic with his axe and then walks away from the fence. Aang caught in a double blind here. Nice setup by Mez. Corlic in a paralyze. Beautiful execution. Aang is going to Trinket, Dragon's Breath, Ring of Frost, and try and get out of there, but Ring of Peace actually bounces him back into Trill's clutches here, and Mez and Trill are marching forward.
Yeah, they definitely are. Alter Time right now available for he's going to pop it, heal himself up just a little bit during that Blinding Light on Corlic. Nice plays. And that's one of the problems when you don't have a Shaman on your team. Alter Time is going to sit full. You have no purges for the Blazing Barrier, the Prismatic Barrier, the Ice Barrier, Blessing of Protection, Freedom. And that's a lot of utility that the side of Charlotte Phoenix has available to them. And actually, believe it or not, Sea-Doo behind on mana. Trill forced to play very defensive here. Diffuse Magic and the Touch of Karma trade out here onto this Fire Mage. Corlic should be able to power through the heals. Big stun comes in. Rallying cry from Nick. Maybe allow Aang to hold on to his Ice Block and his Cauterize. It looks like he will be able to do so. Corlic just trades out the Sacrifice. Doesn't want to be messing around, but in kind of a surprising turn of events, it is OTK on the back foot in terms of mana, so maybe this composition pick, not necessarily the best idea. Trill could just go down. Nick is all over him. Trill's trying to run and hide. Blinding Light comes in. All of a sudden, he has to trade everything. He trades literally everything in order to stay alive. Mez has to try to reverse the pressure somehow, but things are looking dicey here for OTK.
Yeah, and when Trill used this touch of karma earlier, Sidu actually trinketed and sacrificed at the same time. So big overlap. Trill might just die here as a result. Nice disarm there onto Nick. Sidu had to use his bubble right there, and the pressure just coming in here out of nowhere. And Nick is not done just yet here. Charging across here with the Venthyr Warrior. Here comes the blinding sleep. They have no leg sweep though. What stun do they have here? Doesn't look like they have anything really. Double Dragon's Breath coming out from Aang here. He's in that altered time right now, and he's going to get healed back up to full HP. Gets a polymorph onto Sidu. Outstanding job by him, and Trill is going to be porting back behind the pillar, dropping that ring of peace right there, getting a little bit of distance between him and Nick, and Sidu still in crowd control. Hammer of Justice now following it up. Aang is all over him. He might just die here. Karma comes out in 1 second, but he knows that that's not a safe karma. There's a blessing of protection on the enemy team. He's just going to shove it and immediately start to run, and it's not going to get bopped over, which means that Trill is going to recover here. A lot of damage though from that karma as well here onto Aang. This is an opportunity for OTK to try to get some pressure. There is the blessing of protection now. Trill needs to be extremely careful and run away. Honestly, I would have liked to see that just immediately shoved on the karma there and try to go for the kill. Now they had to trade the blessing of protection anyway, and they didn't actually have that kill window. So Trill just been doing an expert job so far, living on that Windwalker, but the mana is not looking great for OTK. They need to get something going offensively here, Sid.
I mean, it's kind of close. I feel like cooldown-wise as well, I wouldn't call this game over yet. Sidu can make a big trade. Korlik has to sacrifice. Now suddenly it's an even fight here between OTK and Charlotte Phoenix. They're really tearing in, trying to take down Aang after the sacrifice. And now Korlik has to make a decision. Does he charge in? It looks like he wants to. He's caught in the chains of ice into the paralyzed. Trill, though, gets Dragon's Breath at low health. Aang disrupts the Death Grip attempt. Nice peels by Aang. Mez actually trinkets out to try and get aggressive, but Korlik's already in there, landing the Hammer of Justice. Trill tries to roll out away from the fight, and Mez gets a triple blinding sleet, triple leg sweep. Beautiful follow-up. Aang gonna trinket Vulpin Soul Shape away. Korlik Divine Shields as well, realizing that could be devastating. However, the cooldowns are coming up for Mez. If Trill can hold on just a little bit longer, Polymorph on a Sidu, trinket sacrifice. Pre-sacrifices the Polymorph, putting himself on diminishing return. Love to see Sidu get aggressive now while he's on Polymorph TR, pushing for a hammer. I think that's what he's doing. Korlik into the paralyzed. Aang intercepts for a moment, but Sidu gets the triple blinding light. Triple after triple by OTK in game number 3 here. Hammers are down. Aang is getting blasted. Nick intercepts with the Stormbolt onto Trill, trying to prevent Aang's cauterized proc here. Can Korlik hold on to it? Big Divine Favor is currently up for Korlik, but he's not able to even cast a heal. Aang's caught's going to proc. His block is going to be traded. Trill, Ring of Peace to prevent Nick from connecting as he tries to get back to Sidu. Sidu has no mana. They're going to trade Karma. Nick tries to door on top. Not able to find the target just yet. Mez has Cindergosa. Trill has 2 Storm, Earth, and Fires and a Zwen. If he just pops those, I feel like Aang is going to explode.
Yeah, definitely possible. A lot of Windwalker Monk damage available. They grip him in. Aang gets the shimmer on the blinding light, and he manages to escape. And it looks like Combustion is going to be used. Anti-magic zone trades. Stun coming in from Mez. Trill in some trouble, though. He's got no karma. He's got no defuse, and he gets absolutely crushed. Not getting full value from that anti-magic zone. Super close game, but OTK, I can't help but feel like if they had just locked in the Windwalker, Mage, Paladin again, the game would have been even a little bit better for them. So maybe outpicking themselves in this series, that's going to give Charlotte Phoenix an opportunity to go ahead in this series.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. So back and forth, and I really feel like OTK didn't pick a great matchup here. It felt like they were on the back foot, or I don't know if it was on the back foot, but there were so many close calls on Trill throughout the entire game. It didn't feel like, okay, this is a hard counter, or this is a really good matchup here for them, but they were almost able to pull it off here. I mean, if you see here on the replay, you take a look at the cooldowns. Aang has no ice block, Korlik has no bubble. They really don't have much to work with here, no sacrifice as well. But on the flip side, also on the side of OTK, of course, they don't really have anything to work with as well. Both paladins as well, basically with 0 mana. And here is the double blinding sleet. There is the leg sweep. Nick trinkets out. There's the anti-magic zone. Sidu's looking for a drink here, but immediately has to stop himself there. Flame Strike connects, and it's just all the damage there from Aang with that combustion. It's just going to be too much for Sidu to handle at this point, and as a result, Trill is going to fall.
Charlotte Phoenix looking insane right now. They're able to pull this composition off, even on a small map here when we went to Hook Point. Fire Mage Arms Warrior still going to be their winning composition for these guys, even in those tight quarters like OTK went to with Windwalker DK. Yeah, must not have been the right decision for these guys. Do you think their next move, Supatees, then is to go back to Fire Mage Windwalker? Do you think we see something else from these guys?
Yeah, they'll pick either a neutral or a big map, I think, and go back to Windwalker, Fire Mage. I think they thought for sure that Frost DK Cleave on a small map, they would be able to win, so they wanted to run that. This was like, I would have imagined this would be a game 5 pick if they lost on a big map as Fire Mage Windwalker. So they felt more confident in it. They wanted to pull it earlier on in the series, but it didn't work out. Charlotte Phoenix were ready. Now I would imagine they're going to go back to Fire Mage Windwalker, try and set up drinks, but it's still not comfortable. I mean, you're now down. You can't lose any game. You can't lose a single game. And this team is showing that they're quite formidable, even with their new mage, Aang, as this warrior mage paladin. So the stress is going to be rising right now for OTK.
Most definitely. Charlotte Phoenix rock solid right now in this series. OTK does not want to get sent down to the lower bracket. There's some tough teams down there as well, and Charlotte Phoenix is really going to show why they belong here in this upper bracket. So OTK going to have to switch something up if they want to try and turn the series around in their favor. The draft process is starting shortly, and I am curious to see what these guys do. Are they going to stick with that Windwalker DK on the side of OTK? Or are they going to revert back to the composition that we saw them playing in game number 1? So we're going to see very, very shortly here, but this is just looking like a tough series for these guys, Ben.
It is. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Paladin with the Windwalker Death Knight, especially on the small map. I feel like the nice thing about the Shaman, although you do lack a little bit of healing, it is just so important to purge off altar time, the barriers, freedom. Normally as the mage you can't move at all, but if you have freedom that's not dispellable, all of a sudden you're feeling pretty mobile in the match. And I feel like OTK, they made a bit of a mistake with that pick. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think for the remainder of this series at least, I'd really like to see them just kind of lock in the Windwalker Mage Paladin, try to make that work. I mean, they looked phenomenal game number 1. Game 2, even though they lost, it was the closest game you could ever pick. So try to not outpick yourselves, just try to outplay in a matchup you're very comfortable in. I think should be their game plan. And for Charlotte Phoenix, I don't think they're going to make any change. It's just going to be Warrior Mage Paladin the rest of the series. And I think as long as they play as solid as they are, they got a fair shot in this one. Just such a back and forth series.
Yep, most definitely is, Ben. We're seeing them lock in Tiger's Peak. Charlotte Phoenix going to be sticking with that Arms Warrior Fire Mage. Not much of a surprise there. I don't know why they would be switching things up when they're already finding themselves on match points. So all eyes currently on OTK. We're going to find out what they're going to do shortly here as the draft timer gets started. If they do revert back, Zico, to Fire Mage Windwalker, I want to hear your thoughts on what we want to see differently this time around.
Well, I think we are going to see Windwalker Fire Mage, Pally. And I mean, for them, it's all about just those mini, split-second decisions. It's about those mid-game adaptations. If you want to punish Nick if he's overextended, try to set up some drinks as well, like we saw, and just have clean setups on the Paladin and the Mage. But I would have liked to. I agree with you guys. I actually would have liked to see the Windwalker DK Shaman. So if I was on OTK, this is what I would have done. I would have locked like Dalaran or something, like a small map. Lock the Shaman, Windwalker DK, and try to get a win there with my biggest advantage by just having that Windwalker DK, my main comp, a comp that not a lot of people are playing, and that Aang probably doesn't have that much practice against. I would lock that in, and then I would go for the Windwalker Mage Paladin, and that one has been going 50-50, so at least you're going to get a win on one of your small maps. Now you're going to force yourself to win 2 50-50s potentially here if you are OTK. And to be honest, I think the Warrior is the one with the advantage in this matchup. It feels like every time we see this matchup, it's always the Warrior that comes ahead. And I mean, we have the Feral right now on camera as well to agree with me. So.
Yeah, I think that is a sound point, Zico. I certainly hope OTK can pull it off here with this composition, though. And maybe if they do, we see them revert back to that Windwalker DK with a Resto Shaman. We'll have to see, though, because they could potentially turn this around here. They'd have to win the next 2 games in a row, but Charlotte Phoenix very, very close to sending these guys down to the lower bracket. But we know what this team is capable of. We know OTK is an incredible team, and I certainly think they could figure out something heading into this next game. We're going to find out shortly enough while these teams are getting ready to go here for game number 4. Anybody want to make predictions? Do you feel like OTK turns this around, or is this going to be 3-1 Charlotte Phoenix?
Kind of depends on the tilt, I think. I feel like if OTK play as good as they, yeah, if they're tilted at all, like from that last game, like Warriors or something, like if they're on tilt at all, then I think Charlotte Phoenix take this. But if they play like they did in game number 1, it's a very similar map. So they could take it to a game 5. It really just depends on the mental state, I think, because you've got to. It's going to be a long game, and you've got to be on point with setting up drinks. Like there's multiple layers of this fight, right? That you've got the setups you need to be getting on the mage, trying to isolate the mage, at the same time trying to peel the melee DPS and get drinks. And all of these are happening at the same time in the game, and you need to make the right choice every time when it pops up, or else you start falling behind. So it's a very high intensity game, and if you're tilted at all, then you start to kind of ignore when you're needing to make those decisions, or you miss them entirely, which just gives the other team more opportunity. So hopefully OTK can keep a calm mind here in game number 4. They can't afford to lose.
They certainly cannot, Supertees. You're absolutely right. The mental game in times like these is so important. So let's see if OTK has it and is able to tie it up. It's game number 4. Charlotte Phoenix on match point.
Yeah, let's see if Charlotte Phoenix can pull out ahead and make it into the upper bracket final. Samayam right now in a Spear of Bastion. He will be the primary target. Hammer of Justice on Sea-Doo. Into a full Blinding Light. Samayam, though, using double Shimmer to get the Polymorph here onto Corlick. Potential double stun coming in from Trill. Beautiful setup. Samayam uses the Combustion immediately. Kleptomania spell seal there by Aang. He manages to hold on, but he's getting low. Low health. This could be the Cauterize. Mirror Image is just trying to hold on. Battlemaster likely up at this time. That Gladiator's Emblem boosting his health. Corlick gets a little bit of time to top him off. Great defense there by Charlotte Phoenix. Combustion now being used by Aang. Samayam on the run behind the pillar, just avoiding that fight entirely. I like this. When he's behind in terms of damage, Samayam is just going to line of sight, allow Sea-Doo to get out of that crowd control, and then once again he can get back in the fight. Full Ring of Frost now onto Corlick as they're looking to reverse here on Aang. Back and forth for both these teams.
Yeah, and Samayam getting reflected there on the sheep. It's going to allow Aang here to completely recover as well. And now Nick looking to get a pressure here onto Samayam. There's the Fear. There's the Storm Bolt. Big damage here with the Blade Storm. Trill throwing out one heal there with the Vivifies is going to be enough. There is the beautiful triple barrier coming out from Samayam. And then he actually resets his cooldown. So he's going to be able to do that again with that Triune Ward. And Sam just playing excellent defense here. Ring of Frost comes out onto Nick. Nick is actually going to walk into it and DR himself. Big mistake here. Samayam has a clean double CC here. Beautiful setup. 3 versus 1. Corlick forced to trinket. Trade out the sacrifice here. But he does it after Trill commits a little bit of damage cooldowns. And that's always what you want to do here. If they can get the trinket without committing, Zwen and Trill's damage, then that's going to be a really big win for them. Sam actually trying to get a Blink Dragon's Breath. They're trying to interrupt that big heal there from Corlick and potentially set up a swap to him, but not able to find it. And now once again, Sam is going to be the one on the back foot here since they just had that setup happen. Aang is looking for some polymorphs, not able to find it just yet though. And now Sam has his DRs off onto Corlick, so he's going to go for a sheep here. He actually gets it, and that War Banner though saving him in the nick of time right there by Nick. And now Sea-Doo actually going to be in the Hammer of Justice. Dragon's Breath comes out onto Nick. The Vivify is coming out. The Ring of Peace coming out. Double Blinding Light coming out here onto Sea-Doo and Samayam. Sea-Doo still in crowd control here at full polymorph. Spear of Bastion, but Samayam trades the Alter Time. He cancels it. Sea-Doo now finally out of crowd control. Should be able to keep him alive and Trill throughout that whole exchange, as well as Sam just playing excellent defense. Nice disarm, nice Alter Time, and nice Ring of Peace and Vivifies there. And that's going to allow them to survive there without having to commit any cooldowns from Sea-Doo. And now OTK have a chance to get aggressive.
Let's see if they can take advantage of it here. Cedar's in a polymorph. Sam is falling behind. Nick is tearing in. Getting out of that Dragon Sword with his sharpened blade. Does he have a way to get out of the Frost Nova? It doesn't look like it, so Sam is going to be standing just a few inches away from an execute. But a few inches is better than no distance. Aang pre-alters this incoming stun and should bounce back quite a bit of health, managing to stabilize. And I must say, like, Aang coming in on this team, likely just coming off the ladder for Charlotte Phoenix, facing OTK, previous BlizzCon champions, a solid team that's been fighting these Mage Paladin fights for this entire Cup stage, is really performing, being on match point, and these preemptive plays on his part, definitely impressive. Getting another polymorph on Sidhu. Nick goes into the Ring of Frost, though. He's trying to connect Sam, also with an excellent pre-alter time here, getting back to Sidhu right as Nick is caught into that Ring of Frost. Sidhu tries to drink, he gets flame striked. Good awareness by Aang. Definitely important to save something to stop those drinks, as that's how game one was decided. And if Korlik isn't able to find one, he is slightly behind. However, they're pushing for damage. Sam Vulpin shapeshifts back to the balcony. Nick pushing on top, trying to just push him over. Korlik goes for a drink. Trill portals over, stopping Korlik from drinking. Nick leap pummeling Sam, staying on target. And who's going to pop their cooldowns first is now the question. Trill has a lot of damage available, but Sam just has to... He gets his caught block.
Fire.
He just gets caught block out of nowhere right there. Big pressure. They're just going to close the game out. Sam trying to get back to midfield. It's a Kleptomania on the Triune Ward. Beautiful plays here by Aang, stripping off those shields on Sam. Nick tries to push for the win. There's no absorbs. He's caught in the Spirit Bastion. Huge push on match point. Can they close it out? There's not much defense. Sidhu is struggling to keep Sam afloat at this point. A full polymorph lands with no way out. Pod is going to be triggered. Charlotte Phoenix pop it and take down OTK, making it to Championship Sunday.
Absolutely beautiful. The Warrior Mage Paladin looking clean. Aang coming in as a new mage on this roster, and honestly, like you said, performing exceptionally well. Now making it to that upper finals, and I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think this is the first time in a long time that Charlotte Phoenix has actually beaten OTK in that upper bracket and found themselves in this situation. So obviously having a great Cup 4. They're looking good. OTK, I feel like they made a few mistakes in the series. Switching to the Windwalker Death Knight, probably not the best move. I really would have liked to see the Shaman button. Maybe they just don't have confidence in it at this point. Definitely going to be a force, though, in that lower bracket, as they're going to try to battle it back to make it to Sunday.
Yeah, so here, so Sam